Modern Education, Part 2. College Education Challenges.
Hi, I'm Jim,
And I'm Hisham, and this is.
the Quantumly Leaping Podcast.
Yeah, you forgot to say your favorite podcast.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're close. We're
Yeah,
close to reaching close to bringing
yeah,
a big milestone, ladies and gentlemen. We're close.
yeah, and we're getting a lot of views, and some people are liking and commenting. So yes, we're,
Yes.
we're getting there, and I think I think it's because we're listening to people. We're talking about topics they tell us about. We also try to be funny, so that they would stop saying that too serious.
We're too
Uh,
serious, ladies and gentlemen. We're too serious. That is the complaint I've been getting,
yeah, I
and
mean,
we have conversations about this. It's pretty hilarious. We're too serious.
yeah. So that's why we actually one of the things that inspires this episode, because we were going to talk about it
Yeah.
a long time, but as any of other topic, when we decided to talk about a topic, the universe conspire towards us, not against us, actually, to us,
Yes.
with us, and
Yes.
gives us a lot of material sometimes, or situation that changes in the world, to give us, like the remember the one when we talked about the social media responsibility and what
Yes.
happened in the state about fact checking on politicians and all of these things.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
within because this this episode is part two of modern education. Last week we talked about modern education, but for schooling. Now we're talking about higher education. And funny thing is that when we were discussing that, the episode of Patriot Act by Hassan Minhaj was
Yes.
talking about the same topic, right? And
Yes.
I'm gonna let you talk about it because I know that you loved that episode pretty much.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like Hisham was saying that the universe is conspiring. So we did this show on online learning, and then a few weeks ago, Hisham always sends me stuff to watch, not just because of this podcast. Since we've collaborated, he's always sent me stuff to watch. But recently he sent me this gentleman Hassan Minaj, and he has a Netflix show. So, sometimes when I watch something for the first time, I kind of, have to get warmed up. So he did this talk on the Patriot Act, and I watched about 10 minutes. I said, okay, I can't handle this guy. He's too funny, he's too serious, and he's too funny again. So I watched the whole thing, and I was hooked. This guy is unbelievable. So then, about last week, Hisham sent me another video of him talking about what's happening with colleges and universities in the United States. And Hassan Minaj actually went to Congress and spoke to him about this.
Yeah.
Now, we're plugging Hassan Minaj. So Hassan, if you hear this, we'll definitely love your endorsement. But he talked about a couple of things that was very shocking. We might talk about a little later in the show, but just the amount of money that some of the universities in the United States are making, and how many of the students are in debt when they're done, and the numbers were stark. So this kind of made us want to bring this topic a little. We were actually going to discuss this, but a little later in the season. But I saw that video, and then I watched the whole video, and just making notes and listening to that, I began like, we got to talk about this because in Canada we're a little different, but we face the same challenges as far as, I guess, academia wise, and also as far as evolving of the educational system.
Mhm.
So if you have a chance, watch his show. We usually don't plug things, but watch him. He's very entertaining, funny, and very passionate. So
Informative as well.
informative. So
Yeah.
like Hassan, if you see this, thank you. If not, it's okay. But so with that, I'll throw it back to you, Hisham.
Yeah, and I just before we start, I'll just tell that his testimony for the Congress was about actually an episode that he has done on students' debt, which was also really informative, which made, I mean, like, you see something like this, they called for a comedian to come to the Congress because he was giving a lot of information that was that people didn't know about. And it's funny, like it's funny, and like it says something that how media is changing, and we hope that our podcast is doing the same thing. We're trying to talk about these things to create a conversation and to let people talk about it, because we think these topics are there and alive, but um, the conversation has to go on, and this is why we are enthusiastic. This is why we love doing what we're doing. So having that being said, let's dive into our first topic, which is about the modern college education challenges. I've done college education, you've done college education. We're not going to say when was that, so that we'll not look so old, but it was a while ago. It was a while ago, and things
Yes.
were so different.
Yes, they were.
Like, I cannot imagine how things,
Oh
like,
my God.
in few decades, or like, and even I'm just not looking at myself. I'm looking at because my father was also a college graduate. My mother is a college graduate, and you're looking at those, and I listened to their experience, listened to our experience. Our experience was a little bit different, maybe more modern or something, but it was not. It was not what we're seeing nowadays. So you see that, first of all, things like prices of the college education, how it's doubled and tripled, I believe, in the past couple of years, while everybody is trying to have a college education, because without a higher education, you're not gonna get hired. You cannot get a job or a career nowadays. It's like a mandatory thing. And at the same time, you pay a lot, you cannot get accommodated easily, and the quality of education is going down by the what do you like to say, the nanosecond, right? Like, so I don't know what is happening there. I mean, like, I've done online education. At that time, there was those classes were actually classes, but I've done higher education in class, and I've done online. It was so different. And it's I don't know what is happening. I mean, like, I want you to weigh in, because I know that you also have done some classes in colleges, and you have an experience into that.
Yeah, yes, we went. I went to college way back, and the quick story I share, when I was in college, we actually the teachers went on strike, and we couldn't do anything back then. This was a while ago, before 2000s, we'll say. There was no Facebook, there was no Google in this, and so for 4 weeks, I actually went one day weeks. I was taking another course that I had to go in for, but since then, I have taken some courses, and I've been have access to some other types of learning. And it's interesting because here where I am in downtown Toronto, I'm near actually University of Toronto, and my younger brother is a PhD master in University of Toronto. So he was an adjunct professor. But I also have other friends, and I've asked them regarding this in the past. And what has happened is the quality of the courses really haven't changed much. My brother taught the same course for 5 years, the same course, no changes, 5 years, like no updates to the course. He goes, no, same course, and then he passed it on to somebody else because he discontinued. And I've heard this from other people, and it really kind of makes you wonder that it's the same course, but the cost of some of the courses has increased. Not all the courses, but incrementally over the years, the cost of the courses have increased. And but the feedback of taking the courses online has not been as good as people thought they were, as students thought they were. And I've heard this, and the courses I took weren't as experiential online as they were in person. And now this has become a serious issue now. So the high prices, the accommodation, and the quality of education all are not congruent. but students are still paying a high price. They're coming out of college, university in debt, ladies and gentlemen, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So this is why we chose to talk about this, and we're gonna peel the onion, as I like to say here, and kind of discuss a little further. But yes, I've taken it. I've seen others who would concur with what's happening. So I'll throw it back to you, Hisham.
Yeah, and like it's also like I think that they're concentrating on marketing themselves,
Yeah.
and more than they concentrate on
Yes.
giving an educational experience to them.
Yeah.
It's a more now became a more as a beneficial business than it's an academic one. So they started. I'm not talking about all of
Mm-hmm.
them, but I'm from my experience with a lot of colleges without names, and my friends who have kids in those colleges, they say like, we feel that we're paying for nothing, like nothing, and because and you know and we also it's also from that episode the things that we've heard about the Texas University paying $40 billion for endowment, and I was like, when I've heard that, I was like, oh my freaking god, like why don't they just use some of this money for to pay at least for their because we know that I was shocked also when I've heard that a lot of those professors, they work in different colleges, and some of them, they live in their cars, they cannot even afford an apartment. And I mean, like, this is ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't, okay, let's say that most of that doesn't happen in Canada, thank God, but
Mm-hmm.
we're
Yes.
not so far from this because we're seeing that what was happening in the United States 30 years ago, which led to this, is happening right now in Canada. And
Yeah.
if we didn't do anything, and this is one of the things that we are trying to talk about such topics, which people think that we are so serious and all, because it is serious. It is
Yeah.
hitting us. And if we didn't
Yeah.
start the conversation right now, we're going to sink into
Yeah.
that situation. I don't want to see a college professor working their butts off, three colleges, day and night, and then live in their own car. Or not just live
Yeah.
in
Well,
their own
I
car.
know. I know. Just to stop you for a minute, Hisham, if you don't mind. I actually know a few friends of mine who taught for three colleges, right? A marketing course at three colleges, and still couldn't make it through. And it was taking a real estate course. Three. So it is actually happening here as well. So a friend of mine, my neighbor across the street, he is a supply teacher. He teaches at all different schools throughout the Toronto region. He fills in for teachers who are going on vacation and so forth, or other reasons. And he's running all over the city. So I think that maybe it's not a start, but it is happening. I know about 4 or 5 cases
Yeah,
of students going through. I mean, teachers
and
going through that.
and the thing is, the trend of bringing teachers who are not full timers is
Yeah,
becoming really.
yeah,
I know a lot of people who are telling them, I teach at Humber, and I also teach at Seneca. It's like, how can you teach at
yes,
Humber and Seneca and something? They're like, because I'm not a full time teacher. And when you're not a
yeah,
full time teacher or a professor in a college or something, then there you cannot have a lot of the benefits that the full timers have. And this is
yeah,
happening here in Canada, ladies and gentlemen. It's not in the United States. It happens, of course, now
yes,
there, but this is happening right now, and it's becoming
it
a
is.
trend. It is becoming
Yeah,
a trend, and I know that. Okay, people say like, okay, but you in Canada, you do have like your own free healthcare. Doesn't it is just not about that. It's also about benefits. It's also about what if, like in COVID-19, a lot of those courses stopped right now, and they don't find anything, and a lot of them have to live on CERB right now, or the the government help for the COVID-19. But that that is ridiculous. And when you see how much money those colleges make, and they don't find it in themselves to hire those guys as full timers, using them and abusing them, that makes me so freaking angry. I'm sure that everybody can hear that in my tone, and I'm usually a very calm person, but when it comes to education, I don't know. It's a very passionate. It's a very touching point for me. It's very passionate to me because when I was younger, much younger, and I studied in a college education. That happened when I was in Jordan. Okay, getting into the colleges at the time, because there were very less of them, was hard. You have to do a test and all thing, but we were not paying much. We were paying just very small, and the education was the quality of education was much higher, really higher. And I'm looking at the students now, and all of our professors, most of them were full timers. Most of them. I mean, like 99% maybe were full timers. Now I'm looking at this and see that students now are paying higher. Most of the educators and teachers are, not full timers or contractors, or sometimes from the college students who are doing these. I like, this is ridiculous, and I cannot take that. Uh, so enough ranting about this. Let's go to our next topic, which is because again, I'm one of the people who took the online courses much earlier, and at that time those courses were designed to be online. But now we're facing a very different experience, specifically within COVID-19. So we had online education, high college, high education and college education online, and before COVID-19. But now everything is online because of COVID-19, right? And what is happening is all of those classes that people that the students are taking right now were not designed to be online, but they have to go online because of social distancing and the pandemic. And we know that the quality of education before COVID-19 was not that great. And now when it became from class to online, like sudden transition, nothing prepared, it's even becoming lower and lower, right? And I'm seeing that the frustrations of students and families, right? And I know that you have some stories to weigh on for
Yeah,
that matter.
yeah, I do. The last couple of months, like I said, I've been out cycling, and I've been meeting up with friends. I've been speaking to friends on the phone, and I really began to ask these questions, and the answers have been very stark, in the sense some parents are very disappointed. One of my friends, he lives in a very, we'll say, an affluent area outside Toronto. He has three kids, 13, 11, and 9. And he's told me this, and he was serious. He says, "How dare them be drawing a full salary and not earning, just sitting down watching TV all day, right? Or just working 1 hour, 2 hours." He was very upset, and this is in an affluent area, and the parents in that area are upset, because what happens here in the GTA, and I mentioned this in the last show, I've had a chance to travel throughout the Toronto area to teach for a not-for-profit organization called JA, and also for Junior Achievement Ontario, and another organization called DECA. And I've seen the disparities. No hard, no computers from the 1990s they're using. Okay, I mean, I couldn't believe they're using Apple Macintoshes from 2001. The level of the academia that was being taught. So just because it shifted online doesn't mean that it got fixed. It actually got worse. And just today, the government, because we're in almost stage 2 of COVID, are going back to school in September. Now, we'll be doing another show about that later on, but why I'm telling you this is they're going to go through like a hybrid, half school, half online, and all the teachers are up in arms going, "How are you going to do that? How are you going to?" So there's more questions than answers.
Yeah.
So part of what's happening now, it wasn't that great pre-COVID. During COVID and now post-COVID is going to bring a lot of eyeballs to our curriculum, that it's
Yeah.
not ready. It's not up there.
Yeah.
And across the board, we're not just talking universities, we're talking college, even online learning is now being challenged, because then people are not going to get great jobs if they're not getting great information. We were just talking about this a few hours ago, that the learning is going to be obsolete. The learning is going to be obsolete. So where does that bring us 2021 and forward? If our educational system is still in the old, again, our previous podcast talks about that. I highly recommend listening to it, because you'll understand the contextual thing. So for me, I'm very passionate as well that, yes, we went to school a long time ago, but I've taken online courses. I actually took a course on ethics and negotiation recently, and I'm doing the advanced version here in a few months. It was okay, but it was a different thing to do it via the textbook than do it online or in person. So there's probably not going to be all the answers we can give everybody here on this podcast today. But the main reason we want to do this, I just want to reiterate what Hisham has said. It is frustrating because both of us have been in it, have done it, and have seen it, and have asked about it. We don't just come here. I'll reiterate. I have done research on this for at least 2 months, reading articles. I have teachers that live 2 doors down from me. I teach read across the street. I've asked, and they're truthful to me. Like, why would they lie, right? So there's something wrong, and this is why we decided to keep on this and say how important it is. Because what is my nephew? He's 5, but when he gets to high school, how will it look? How will it look for him? I don't know. What will it look like in 10 years when Mr. S goes to high school? Will it be all online by then? Who knows? Or are there going to be a chip you have to take and you install it and you scan it? Who knows, right? So these are the conversations we're having. So I'll throw it back to you, Sham. So I'm bothered by this too. Let me tell you, but
Yeah, and there should be, there's a lot of talk, as you said, about the type of hybrid learning, which I believe
yeah,
we're gonna talk about this in a different part of this episode. But
yeah,
the thing was what happened is, like, right now we don't have a hybrid learning, we don't have
yeah.
a real online learning, we don't have a class learning. So
What do we
what is
have?
it? We're not having nothing.
That's
We're having
exactly.
this nothing.
But this is exactly why, Hisham, I think it was so important to do this show. And ladies and gentlemen who are listening to this is why quantum leaping is here for. Because we have to ask these questions. What is it now? Now we're going to go to hybrid? All of a sudden hybrid learning? The teachers are the parents are freaking out. The parents, because now if both parents work, who's going to are they just going to let the students go amok at home, depending on how old they are? How does that work? Have they thought about the parents? Like, how are those arrangements going to be made? Parents eventually are not going to work from home. Some of them may not can't work from home. Some of them have, and some who do now want their privacy now, to focus on their job. So there's more questions than answers about this. But just today they were talking about this hybrid version. I'm like, are you serious? Hybrid? Oh my God. We
Yeah,
went from.
the thing is, I'm open to the ideas, but
Oh,
what
I
is
agree,
happening?
but all
But
of a
what is
sudden it's like
happening right
September
now?
we're doing a hybrid. In
Yeah,
September they're going to do a hybrid.
yeah. But what is happening right now is we're not in hybrid. We're not in any of. We're in the phantom
No.
zone. Like, really, we're in the phantom zone. Like, you have no idea what is it, and I feel so bad for the students and for their
Yeah,
parents,
yeah,
because they're looking at what is happening, and I see parents are frustrated, and
yeah,
because for the first time they're seeing what their kids are learning, because they're sitting at home and learning, and they say, like, are you kidding me? Is this the crap that we're paying for? Like, what the hell is that? And I'm seeing a lot of my friends who are thinking about pulling their kids out of the school, try to, like, let them try to find a job, or try to find something else, or try another college, or whatever. And we're going to see, by the way, and we're going to talk about that in the post-COVID, but I expect that a lot of those colleges are going to close down because people are are feeling that they're so frustrated of them. Like maybe bigger colleges, like maybe the U of T, University of Toronto, or others will stay because those are big and those are kind of like a different. But most of those colleges around that that you know here and there, I'm not going to mention any of their names. I think a lot of them are going to disappear soon, sooner than we think, because parents and students are feeling not just frustrated. I don't know what word would I say, but they're totally in a total disappointment of what they're getting, both students and parents. And as I said, parents looking at what their kids looking for the first time in their life. I mean, they send them before COVID. They were sending them. Oh, my son goes to the college. He goes. I mean, like I'm proud of him. And that's like he was looking at the screen that screen. I said, like, are you kidding me? Is that what I'm paying for? And I think this leads us right straight to our third topic, which is the challenges of the current college education with the modern work experience. Because you're a parent, you're paying a lot, or you're paying and you're taking debts, for your kids, to send them to this college because you want them to have a better life, better than yours, right? That's what the whole idea of a higher education is. But they look at this and even the parents, I've seen parents who are not that, tech savvy or anything, but when they look at what their kids, they're like, that's not going to get them a job in the future. You know, that's not going to get them anything in the future. All this is going to get them is a huge debt and a job that they didn't study for. I mean, like I don't know, like some, I don't know, like a handy job or something. Not that handyman jobs are bad, but you did not study and paid all of that, and you have all of that debt to work in this kind of jobs, right?
I think it's already happening. I'll give you a quick example. So I'm the last 4 years I work in a lot of events, special projects, and I do some work in the movie industry. A lot of the people that I work with are very educated, extremely educated, and they're not even the topic that they're doing, especially the movie industry now. There's a lot of people who are joined it, either because they're in between jobs, they're have debt to pay, they got to do something. And I've spoken to a lot of people who were there was a banker, 40 years as a banker, retired, and now he doesn't have the best of pensions, and he's doing movies. Why was he there? I mean, I remember, and he goes, well, one to get away, one because I need to do something, but because I still need income, even though I have an okay pension. It's not the greatest of pension, he said, after serving in a bank for 40 years. You think so? I was like really stark to hear that. But at the end of the day, I have many friends now who are in the middle of their masters, PhDs, and are wondering, is it worth it? Is it worth it completing it? A project management thing. Is it worth doing that? A lot of them are contemplating it right now, and I think that I have a lot of I have a few friends here that I'm mentoring. There's students sort of in the high school, college, going to high school and college. Some of them keep in touch via email because I said I've been teaching in school. Some of them email me. Sometimes they call me, and a lot of them are very frustrated on not that they're going to take something, but is it going to prepare them enough? Is it going to prepare them enough? And I
It's going to prepare
challenge
them at
them
all, actually.
at all. And I have something that I share, and I'll share my philosophy maybe in season two. And it's called "Be a Lifelong Learner." And I think a lot of them are really realizing right now that they got to keep studying. Like Hisham and I, we both are avid readers. Constantly going out learning. We've been taking webinars. Hisham was doing a webinar here on Wednesday for a group out of Seattle. I'm doing a webinar next week. I've been asked to do a webinar in July and August on a special topic on email marketing. So again, it's almost like you're your own leader. But over the summertime, we're going to have great weather here in Toronto apparently for the summer for the next 5 days. But you got to step up. And I think that someone asked me about this podcast today, and I said to him, I said that it's one of the smartest things I think I've done in 2020, and even though we have been talking about this for about a year or so, but I'm thankful that we have because we've tackled some great topics, and this is not an easy topic, but we've done our homework, we've spoken to people, we've watched videos, and we want to really audience not for you just to listen, ladies and gentlemen, but to take that and to do something about it as well. The amplification of this is stark because the students are right now wondering what's this going to do for them. This COVID situation has brought to light a lot of inadequacies in education. And Hisham says now students are looking, parents are looking what their kids are doing, and they're not happy. They're not happy at all. And
Yeah.
so I think that the debt ratios are still increasing. Um, the debt is significant. Let's just say it's significant debt. Where is that going? So we're going to touch upon this maybe here in the next segment, but all I got to say is that it has not caught up yet. We're not caught up yet, and that's not good. And if myself, I consider myself, an adept person, but I'm reading stuff. I'm learning about AI. I'm learning a third book on sales. Someone says, "You've read 3 books on sales?" Yes, I have. Because I know I want to get better at sales. I consider myself a pretty good salesperson, but I just signed up to sell another product here because I want to, because it's a great product and I want to sell it, right? That's how you become better. Just like selling this show now. I sell this show everywhere I go. I sell this show. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are tough questions we're asking, and we don't have all the answers. Let me just say one thing: we don't have all the answers. We have a lot of questions more than answers as to why this is happening. But
Yeah.
do your research and you'll see. So
Yeah. And
it,
and
it's
uh, and again, to your point, like when you talked about the debts, because the debts are increasing, and the
yes,
grace periods are shortening. Like
yeah,
before the current Ontario government,
yeah.
you can apply it for the OPS, which is it's like a
OSAP,
school
OSAP,
OSAP, sorry, OSAP,
OSAP.
and it's like something that the government giving to you to help you. It's not even the full coverage of your
It doesn't help you
education.
anymore. They
Yeah.
shrunk it. They shrunk it.
Now, even before they shrink it, I mean, even before that, they were not giving you the full cost, but it's something to help. And you have a grace period 6 months after you graduate. And if you didn't get a job, you can still expand for a sixth job. Now there is no grace period. You just start
Yeah,
paying after you graduate. And the thing is, it's tougher now to get a job after graduation than it was before when you have that
yes,
grace period. And it is like, this is freaking ridiculous. And when we see how those students are getting too frustrated to commit suicide in 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 hundreds of numbers that we see, this is I look at that and I see like
it's actually already starting to happen. It's already starting to
it
happen.
is happening in large
I just
numbers.
read that. I just read a student committed suicide last week, and they're saying they're expecting 200 suicides by the end of this year. 200. That is
Yeah, I
not
mean,
that is
I
not
mean,
good.
and you said yourself, we not just you and I, people from our generation have,
Yeah,
we're going out and we're trying to teach ourselves. We changed careers, we changed skills sometimes, because one of the things that we've learned in our colleges at the time is self motivation. You
yeah,
know, our in our time in our education, it was not just the teacher telling us things and leaves. No, I'm giving you something. That's what about college education. I'm giving you the headlines. You have to do your own research. You have to come back. You have to write the paper. You have to do all of that. And in our time, there were no internet that to search and find everything and just copy and paste. And now there are websites, believe it or not, there are websites where you can actually take an article from the internet and put it into it, because now they're looking for uh, uh, If you're doing something, they put it in an AI and it search if you copied that from somewhere. Plagiarism, yes. But they were looking if you copied, not just fully plagiarism. It's too smart that say if the paragraphs are copied from different websites. So it's coming really. Now there are websites that you can copy something and put it in, and it's gonna change it in a way that you cannot, that these softwares for plagiarism cannot actually detect it. We didn't have all of that. We had to go to a place called the library, if people remember. Go find something called books. If people, if something like
See, you
these,
were actually
like
being
those
funny here.
guys.
See?
Yeah, for our YouTube viewers, something like this. That's called a book. It has papers in it, and you have to read it. Actually, you cannot put something and listen to whatever to what's the content,
Oh my God.
and then you have to
Okay,
do your
so
work
there
on
you go,
researching,
people. We're actually being funny. Okay, that
and
was
then
funny. No, that was
and
funny.
and then you have to do your work and write the paper, and
No,
even
no,
that
type it out. No, wait, type it out on a computer. Type it out.
we couldn't type it out on a computer at the time. We didn't have. You have to write it literally with your pen,
Write it down. Yeah,
or
right.
or
Right.
you remember those typewriters, tick 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 tick
Typewriters.
tick.
I got one. I got
Yeah,
one
and
downstairs.
if you made a mistake, sometimes you have to do the whole page or the whole line, or to do. It was something, that thing might be hard, but
I forgot about that.
it
Typewriters
was
before computers.
motivating. It was motivating for us to go and do research. Now everything becomes easy,
Yeah.
and I feel you should. But so okay, I'm
Oh,
not against
okay,
technology,
back to
ladies and
serious.
gentlemen. I'm not against technology, and I think all of
Yes.
the tools are great. But you cannot tell people to do old style stuff while they have the internet on that. You have to make to be creative
Yes.
into doing that, which leads me to our next topic, actually, is the
Yes.
future of higher education. Because
Yes.
the future of higher education should not be just about whether we put it online or not. No, how to make it creative to
Yeah.
cope with. This generation is the generation of iPads and smartphones and computers and all. You cannot teach them in the same way that we got our education. It's freaking possible, you know?
Yeah.
So you have,
And I'll
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and I'll talk about this because we don't want to go Joe Rogan time here. Um, at the end of the day, there has to be change. I think that some schools now. I've taught at a school here in Mississauga. It's called Trios College, and why I'm mentioning them is I taught there, and they do expedited courses. So instead of teaching something in 3 years, they do it in 8 months. Okay, so it is happening, but not on a large scale. So instead of taking a 4 year course, is it possible to condense it to do it in 2.5 years now? I think there might be the opportunities to do so because there's a lot of courses in between that maybe it can be taken out. But these are the questions that are going to be asked now during COVID and post COVID and moving forward. And what I am curious to see, will it happen? And maybe we'll address these in season 2 or season 3, but I'm not convinced that it will change fast enough. The way things are now, it won't. So maybe in a little bit, some schools are doing their part, but not on a large scale. So I'm not sure. I'm not convinced right now that the education is going to change. Students are going to go into high school this year. They're going to teach the same stuff they have to the and the preparation is not going to be the same for them going and moving on. So that's all I got to say about it. I'll throw it back to you, Sham.
Yeah, and again, as we said in the topics that we talked about, it's not enough to say, oh, I'm doing an online course, so now I'm being modern. You know,
Yeah,
this is not enough. This you have to
yeah,
think creatively. You have to talk to this generation. You know, it's important that we. I don't know. It's important that we listen also to this generation and understand this and try to find a way. Okay, let's talk about curriculum, for example. Now, if you want to add anything to the curriculum, it has to go through a very long agonizing process just to update something, not to change it the whole thing, but just to update few things, you have to go through that agonizing process. And it doesn't work anymore, specifically when you talk about things like technology, AI, or computer sciences. This thing changes every week. Every week we have something new. And
Yeah.
for you to tell me that, okay, but I still have a process for updating because I want to protect my students and to give them the best. You're not protecting them and you're not giving them best if you're delaying this. By the time that you update that curriculum, the information in it might be actually obsolete. And I'm
Yeah.
saying it not outdated, obsolete. I was in college. That's maybe shocked a lot of people when they always did it. When I was in doing my bachelor's degree, I was doing music. I didn't do IT, by the way. And the reason is IT was one of the things that's there. But when I was applying for college, I saw that they're studying in college. They're studying COBOL and Fortran, something that I was doing when I was 12 or 14. I was coming into doing HTML and all of this, and they're still doing that in college. I said, like, I'm not going back. You know, a lot of my friends went into IT, and believe it or not, the music graduate, found a job in IT before all my friends who studied 4 years in college for IT because they studied something that was obsolete, totally obsolete. And that was like many years ago. You're talking about now? I mean, like, how? So that's why we said there are alternate education, fast track education. I have a friend here in Toronto who has this amazing small institute called AI Deep Dive, where you go and you learn about it. He doesn't take even anybody. He takes some people who are like have a background. So he has like also rules like colleges, like, and it's not just that he asks them to do projects, real life projects, and motivates them to do that and introduces them to people in the industry so that they could find jobs. I still remember the time where colleges were doing that, right? Remember when we were doing colleges
Yeah.
and they were
Me too.
inviting
Yeah.
people from the industries and trying
Yeah.
to find us jobs after that and encourage us to go and doing. Now most of them they're doing like, okay, go volunteer to get some credits or uh, go make yourself some internship. No guidelines, nothing. And even when I was working with a contract with Deloitte, the interns who were working in IT were actually not in IT. One of them was studying chemistry. She was amazing. She was amazing, fast learner. I could give her a lot of things and she'd do it, but she didn't get. I mean, like, what makes sense is for you to find an internship in what you study, right? They couldn't afford to find her, and she didn't actually. They told her find an internship. These are the companies that we deal with for internship, and choose and just apply and go. No guidelines, nothing. So she came in to work with me, writing HTML and SharePoint and CSS code, while she's studying something totally different. Now I like the idea that she's looking over. So if she couldn't find something in her job, she could easily, and I could recommend her anywhere. She's a very nice girl and a very intelligent girl. But it's gonna be my scenario again. I study something, but I found a job in something else because I didn't. No one told me about the internship in the field of study. And when it comes to IT, nothing is there, man. I mean, like, I'm gonna stop ranting and I'm gonna leave it for you because I believe people are hating me right now.
No, I listen. At the end of the day, yeah, when I went to college, it was a co-program, and it was one of the first colleges to do that. Hey, Centennial College alumni. But I think nowadays, yes, that's what's happened. There's no roadmap. There's go take an internships. Internships are the thing right now, but those are not even, the be all end all. But these are tough topics, and yes, we're very passionate about it, and we have our reasons for it. But I also believe that more than ever that we got hit by a very tough pandemic, but this pandemic has affected everything. I mean, movies, special events, scholastic. But how we end up on the other end of this is going to be important. And I am not sure how that will look like. And that's tough, right? To say, but it's true. And the fast track is happening in some ways. There's innovative companies out there who are doing it. But again, many individuals, that's why people say to me, wow, you're always learning something. And I'm like, yeah, there's time to watch a movie. Okay, there's time to watch a movie, but it's not like, I just read a book on CSS. I just read a book on CSS last week. I'm like, okay, I learned something. I read a book on mind mapping mastery. I tore the book apart. I'm into it now. I'm not going to put it on my resume. It is, you have to add those skills. That's what we have to do. That's what I do. And when I got in the movie industry, I was like 5 years ago. I was like, wow, I didn't expect that I would get this far, and do what and have such a successful career at it, even in 5 years. So I think that the way I leave this is that education is important. Stay in school, but the level of education has to come up with the times. We are in the 21st century, but the academia is not. That's as simple as I can say it.
Yes, Jim, you're right. And let me tell you something. We're in the 21st century, but the academia is still in the 18th century. We have not done a lot of changes on that. I don't know. And I feel the frustration of the students and of their parents. And even us, when we try to go, people like you and me, when we would try to go and offer ourselves to talk into those, and I know that we have that, you tried as well. We tried to go to those colleges and try to offer, even for free, that we can do lectures, we can do things for sessions, even webinars if you want, whatever. But no one comes back, and no one understands. It's just like they have that closed environment that they do not want anybody in or touch it, because they
Yeah.
think that this is what's good for our students. But I'm going to tell you one thing: if you let your students pay all of that, and expecting that after they graduate they will find their career, their future, and this is not what is happening, you're not doing good for your students. You're not doing good
Yeah.
for their parents. You're not doing good for themselves. And again, as I said, I think a lot of those smaller colleges are gonna disappear after this, what's happening in COVID-19. I don't wish so, but that's what everybody is saying, for that matter. But I want to close on a happy note that we're seeing a rise, even in some colleges, with fast track education, and with other smaller institutions who are doing uh, concentrative education, alternate education, and trying to help. So I hope I hope that also the lessons that we the difficulties that we've faced during COVID-19 will become lessons post COVID-19, and we can get out of that much better than we got into it. And with that, I'd leave the last note for you, Jim.
Yeah, at the end of the day, as I reiterated, everyone who's listening and watching, there is more questions than answers regarding what the situation we're in. I think that there's some organizations are taking that mantle and deciding to move the posts forward, and there are organizations that are fast tracking, but some organizations who are not going to last, and some have already gone out of business as of this year already. So I think that we will continue to be on this. We'll definitely keep an eye and do another show. Post COVID. But the end of the day is we have to have faith that maybe we're going to learn some lessons. I think the point you just said something very interesting. I hope there's lessons. Because if we don't learn the lessons now, how will we advance? And I said something a little while ago about the 21st century. I wrote a book called Get Connected in the 21st Century, dealing with online, offline strategies. And the book took off. And I think that, looking back, I don't know if it was genius that I picked that title, that number, but at the end of the day is we have to move forward. We can't go back. And we want to make sure that even myself, who going to take some courses here in the next year or so in some topics, maybe in business or in marketing, that I want to get the best information. And if not, then I got to go another route. Maybe I'll take an online course, maybe. So even myself, I'm not convinced that the information is out there. So for me, again, this was a great conversation. I hope people enjoyed that. We are serious about what we talk about, but we are trying to have some a little bit of fun. But these topics are not easy topics.
Yeah.
So this is Jim.
Yeah, and this is Hisham, and again, these topics are things that you asked for. We're listening to you. We're trying to bring you the best, and we hope that you join us on the next episode, and the one after it, and the one after it, and the one after it, and the one after it. I'm gonna fade away like one after it, one after it. So,
Take care,
to our
everybody.
audience, goodbye. See you next episode.
Bye. Bye.